What was one of the most wild foods you had on your mission?
Most wild foods? You know, to be honest, I didn't really have any food that was too wild, but fufu is really good. It's an African dish. You eat it with your hands. It's almost like mashed potatoes that you just dip in a really spicy soup and you eat it. It really throws you off. It's really dense, but it's really good.
What was one of the most crazy or dangerous experiences you had on your mission?
Well, I mean, it's not every day that someone you go to talk to pulls a hand axe on you, but it happened to me. It doesn't happen most of the time. As far as I'm aware, it's the only time it ever happened in our mission. And, the best answer to that is just to tell them, have a nice day and just to leave. It's best to just to walk away.
What was one of the most spiritual experiences you had or times you felt the spirit strongest?
I think for me, one of the most spiritual experiences I had was we were teaching a man who had had a lot of difficulty in his life. He had really ruined his life. But watching the atonement of Jesus Christ work with him and change his life, it really showed me the atonement can reach anybody, even people who have made a wreck of their lives. They can be changed. They can be made whole just like anybody else through the atonement of Jesus Christ.
What was a funny language mistake that you or someone else made?
Well, the unfortunate thing is that all the language mistakes in Dutch, they're all really inappropriate. Like if you make a mistake in Dutch, the odds are really good you said something that your mom would wash her mouth out for. There's things you don't say in polite company. But, they're there. Luckily, other missionaries are aware of them. There's kind of a general knowledge of them, and you'll get warned about them.
What was one of the greatest life lessons you learned on your mission?
I think for me, one of the biggest lessons I learned was learning how to sacrifice, how to really be willing to put anything on the altar for the Lord, to not hesitate, but to simply give what the Lord asks and not to think twice about it.
What was one of the greatest skills you gained as a missionary?
I think it was the ability to really exercise charity for people, to really feel that love for them, that desire for their welfare, to the point where it became an automatic response, to not care what the circumstances were or who it was, but to really respond with that desire to improve their station in life. I think that was really one of the most important things that I learned.
Most extreme weather?
Hailstones about yay big that destroyed our car. Yep. We counted about 400 something dents. We had to count them for the insurance. So we were out there for, I don't know how long, counting and marking them, and that car was totaled.
Sounds like fun. What was one of the hardest things that you went through?
I think one of the hardest things that I went through was opening a city. I opened a city for missionary work with a greenie. And for the first 3 weeks, there was nothing at all. It was zeros. Every week we had to call in and say, nothing has happened here. We don't have any results that we report. And that was really hard on my greenie. For me, it was hard to watch him. I was used to the work sometimes going, so I'd been out for about a year. But for him, it was really hard. And for me, that was a really hard thing, was watching him struggle. Because he didn't know yet that success would come after a trial of your faith.
What is best mission prep advice you could give to a pre-missionary? One of the best.
I think, honestly, go into it with your whole heart. Don't leave anything or anyone behind that could really drag you away from the work. Is really understand why you're there. Realize that your time is the Lord's time, and that the Lord does ask for sacrifices. He wants you to give up everything, and just be willing to make those sacrifices, and have faith that the Lord will reward you for that in the end. That's, I think, the best advice that a missionary can have.
And then finally, best advice you could give to someone just getting home from their mission?
Have a plan. Honestly, is not to go home just not knowing what to do. I think every missionary that returns home from any mission needs to have a plan. You need to have a plan that tells you what you're going to do with your life, where you're going to be. You need to have these things planned out, because it's a big drop. You go from a spiritual high to spiritual normal in a day. And from the moment you take that name badge off, you've got the reins. You don't have guidelines. You don't have books anymore that explain things. That you need to be prepared to hit the ground running and not look back. Not in the sense that you never think about it. You'll think about it every day for the rest of your life. But don't look back in the sense of don't wish you could go back. Because that was an amazing 2 years and it changed your life forever. But realize that now is the time to go on to the rest of your life. And, take the skills, take the memories, but realize that you have to be here in the now and hit the ground running.